Hi, folks. If you're like me and you've been scrolling through Twitter and suddenly you find yourself bopping your head along to a slapping tune or nodding your head in agreement as someone gets their ass handed to them, or just straight up laughing out loud, the chances are that you've come across some of the content of my guest who is here with us today. He's got his finger on the pulse of what's happening, whether he's commenting on the wildfires in California or the constant shit show that is Donald Trump. Um, our guest today, Kenny Walden, aka Too Raw, Too Real, has what you need. And as far as influence is concerned, Kenny has personally met with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. He has over 100,000 followers on Twitter and 77,000 followers on Instagram and 40,000 on Blue Sky. He's a really exciting, dynamic individual, and I'm really excited to have him here with us today. So, are you guys ready to get into it? I am. Let's go. Story time. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. And folks, today it's Friday, and it's a very special day, not just because it's pizza and movie night, because that's every Friday, but this Friday in particular, I have, as I mentioned, a superstar with us today. Without any further ado, please allow me to introduce my guest today, Kenny Walden.
What's good, y'all?
Thank you for joining us, Kenny. How are you?
I'm as good as I possibly can be. I'm trying to take some much needed race from what's going on in the world because it can be overwhelming at times. I think that's the goal is to overwhelm, to make us be disengaged. We gotta stay clear of what's going on.
Indeed. Um, I got to ask you. So, where did the Too Raw, Too Real name come from? What's the where did you name yourself that, or is that your friends, or what's the deal with that?
So
Because
I
it's
named
accurate.
myself that after several lost accounts on Twitter.
Really?
And child them and everything. Everything but a shot of God, it seems. But I just give it to people too raw, too real. I say, fuck how you feel. I have to be real. I don't sugarcoat shit, unfortunately. And some people have to get the hard, honest truth when it comes to what's going on in politics. So I have to give it the way that I can.
Okay. All right. So you do have some fans here, and some of them have detected the echo that you mentioned earlier.
I knew it.
Now, I'm just curious, you guys, is that echo coming from both me and Kenny, or is it just Kenny? Because let me know. I think there's something I can tweak on my end. If not, so
It's
be
coming
it.
from me. It's not you.
Yeah, but let me try. Uh, how about now, Kenny?
Testing. No, I don't hear anything.
Better?
Yeah.
There it is. Ha ha. Okay. All right. So anyway, let me pop this up here. I was really impressed when I saw that you had. Hang on. Oh, we finally met actually after I had been a fan of yours on Twitter for some time. We finally met at the White House this past December for that holiday party. But that wasn't your first time at the White House. You've already met with both President Biden and Kamala Harris. How the hell did that happen?
Well, the funny thing is, yeah, that wasn't my first time at the White House, but it damn sure might be my last. Um, but how I met Vice President Kamala Harris is, during the primary, the Democratic primary back in 2019. I did a lot of like, volunteer work for Harris and her campaign. And, I was just giving a lot of my time trying to get her to be our nominee back then. And that's how I was able to meet her like on the grounds, but there was no actual, face to face meeting where
Yeah.
she actually knew who I was and my name and the work that I've done until I think it was maybe 2021.
Hmm.
It was right after the inauguration. I wasn't able to go to the inauguration because, January 6th, and I was kind of scared about that.
Sure.
But interesting enough, I was just, roaming around DC, just seeing the sights. And I went to the Lincoln Memorial. Then all of a sudden I see this man running up the stairs and I recognized him. I'm like, wait a minute, I know this person. And I saw it, I'm like, wait a minute, this is Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff. They're like, who is that? They said, that's Vice President Kamala Harris' husband. And he just running up the stairs, working
Wow.
out at the Lincoln Memorial. I'm like, oh my God, that's Doug. And then all of a sudden behind me, I hear this voice, creep up from behind me. She said, well, isn't he handsome? And it was Vice President Kamala Harris with her
Wow.
Secret Service. And they were all incognito, pretending to be regular people. And it just kind of started from there. I did some other things. I guess one of the other reasons why I was able to get in touch with the White House and get the access that I was is because I called them to the floor about them inviting like the Shade Room and the Breakfast Club to the White House when we all know with the Shade Room spread misinformation saying that Joe Biden was giving out crack pipes as if we haven't had harm reduction programs since the 1980s. And I said, it's kind of hard for me to come on the internet and defend this administration when you're validating people who are spreading misinformation on this administration.
Mm.
So they wind up reaching out to me. I was able to talk to one of the leads of Black media, Erica Lowell, and I also was able to talk to the rapid response team. Her name is Ariana Mushnik, if I'm saying her
Yep.
last name correct.
Mushnick. Yeah.
And they said, hey, we want to get in contact with you. Would you like to come to the White House? We would love to work with you as far as rapid response and responding to misinformation that comes out of administration. Or we can actually give you briefings that we send to a lot of these bloggers about what this administration is doing. And I said, sure, send it to me. It'd make it easier for me to find the information rather than, consistently scrolling through the media, praying that I find some sort of accomplishment from this administration. So it made it a lot easier for me to put the information out there where it's readily available for my viewers.
Hmm. Hmm. I personally was very impressed. I think with your steadfast advocacy for Vice President Kamala Harris, because some people would say, you're caping for her or simping or whatever, and you clearly saw the criticism and said, I don't give a shit what you think. This is who I am. Deal with it, and I respect that. So how did you feel the day after the election?
Um, Child, the day after the election, I ran immediately to go register to get me a passport because I was ready to pack my bags and leave. But not even that. I'm encouraging everybody to go get their passport, not just if we have to, run, but I'm talking about get your passport to prove citizenship. Okay, there's a reason why I went to go get my passport.
Yeah.
If worse comes to worse, I need to be able to walk around with my freedom papers to show that yes, I'm an American citizen because they don't know the difference between African American and Haitian. So, one of
Right.
those things. But I felt a sense of I had to go get counseling. I'm dead ass serious real quick.
Hmm.
I immediately went into depression mode. And it wasn't because, oh my God, Colin Harrison win. The problem is I've been screaming about Project 2025 for the last year and a half and telling people what was to come. Now people see that this was no damn joke. This wasn't something to play Russian roulette with our rights with. So unfortunately, I knew what was coming. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's gonna be fine." We survived the Trump president before, but the problem is Trump didn't know what he was doing. He didn't have a
Yeah.
team behind him that was
Yeah.
going to be able to push his agenda. He had absolutely no clue. This man had
Hmm.
a whole agenda laid out on how they were going to do this and how they were going to strip away our citizenships and our rights.
You're talking about 2025.
Project 2025, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was depressed. Right now we have an uphill battle, and that's putting it lightly. Like we're in for a long road ahead of us. And for those people my age who say that we're not like our ancestors, well, child, we're about to be tested. I pray that I have the resilience and the endurance of my ancestors to be able to deal with what's to come and what we're dealing with in just 2 weeks, because we've
Yeah.
been hurled back to the 1940s.
Dude, 2 weeks feels like a year already. Seriously. And I think that's by design. That's not accidental. It is by design. It was meant to be, I think, a shock and awe thing. It was meant to overwhelm us with the sheer volume of what they were throwing at us and the audacity of what they were throwing at us. And not everything stuck. Some things got bounced. We have some federal judges putting shit, throwing shit in the gears. Like I think a federal judge just delayed the laying off of thousands of USAID workers, and they're trying to make USAID look like, I don't know, the Trump Foundation or something. All of a sudden, they're like, railing against corruption. They had no problem with Donald Trump uh, 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 conning people with his Trump Foundation, his Trump University, the Trump Organization. And no problem with that. But this thing, the U.S. aid that actually helps people, it's a humanitarian organization. They want to take little minuscule line items and say, look at this massive corruption. That's less than 1% of 1% that you are focused on. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. But I'm sorry. um,
Let
before
it
I
out.
before I move on from this, I wanted to. I laughed because when you mentioned the passport thing, I going through your feed and I saw your thing on the passport. I hope you don't mind if I share that with the audience here because
Absolutely play it.
I thought that was great. Uh, let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Let's share this and let's do this.
Listen
And let's do this. Here we go.
to me. This country's getting motherfucking crazy. You got Elon Musk having access.
Oops. Sorry.
Listen to me. This country's getting motherfucking crazy. You got Elon Musk having access to the motherfucking treasury. Black people, I'm gonna need you to get your damn passport. In order to get your passport, you're gonna need your birth certificate. In order to get your birth certificate, you have to get it from your mama because I know you don't have it. But let me tell you where it is. First, go look underneath your mother's mattress. Okay, it's there. If it's not there, go look inside the coat closet and you'll find a purse that's hidden inside another purse that's hidden inside a suitcase. And that is where your original birth certificate is. Mamas, it's time to hand them up. Okay, we are in a crisis. 45/47 acting a damn fool. There is no reason why people in their 40s and 50s do not have their original birth certificate because they're scared of arguing for their parents, having to go through these questionnaires and having to fill out an affidavit on why they need it, having to wait 5 to 7 business days and then arguing with their parents for hours as if they're on the Senate floor trying to break a filibuster. There is no fucking reason just for y'all asses just to spend all these hours wasting our damn time and then finally caving in and then being like, okay, I'm gonna need you to leave the room so I can quote unquote find it, just for you to come to us and say, I'm gonna need this back when you're done. It's mine. Let me have it. Black parents, it shouldn't be this hard. Asking for your original birth certificate is like asking massa for your freedom papers. Look, I'm never gonna be emancipated from my mama, but she be walking around here with my birth certificate as if she got proof of purchase on my black ass.
It was great. Folks, I got to tell you, there's a ton of stuff like this on Kenny's feed, and it is why I've been a fan of his for such a time. What made you go on that tangent on the passport thing? Uh-oh. Hang on. Wait, Kenny, hang on. I can't hear you. Uh, let's see. Let me do this. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Okay. What were you saying?
So, like I was saying, I try to use humor to try to pull people in. Because a lot of people feel like if they're not pulled into something that's not funny immediately, they kind of just tune it out. But I was just trying to tell
Mhm.
people, hey, look, you need to go and get your passport, which is what you can do. But also tying in my own personal issues with trying to get my passport for my mom, and I still don't have it, by the way. I had to order me a copy from Vital Check. So if you don't have your passport, you can go to Vital Check and you can get one because mama ain't handing them up. Okay, I don't know what that's about, but it looks like I think my mom probably put it in her will that she wants to be buried with our birth certificates because I'm never going to touch that original.
There's a reason. Let me just say, as a parent, right? I'm a parent and I've got teens in the house right now. There's a reason that we do that. But before I get onto that, I just want to extend a get well wishes to our friend of the show, Zelda. She's here every Friday and she's currently in the emergency room. She's in the hospital having emergency surgery. So we are praying for you, Zelda. Please get well soon, and folks out there, send her your well wishes, please. So Kenny, the thing about um uh the passport and the birth certificate and the social security card, we keep, my wife and I, we keep that stuff in a secure area, and we keep it there because we don't know if there's, like, it's almost like we keep it in a go bag, in case we got to go. In case there's a fire, there's emergency or whatever, we keep it in a very safe location. So if we
Hold on,
need
I'm
it.
having issues. I can't hear.
Oh, can you not hear? You can't hear me?
Hold on, let's see.
Folks, this show is live, just so you know. So occasionally we do have audio visual issues. Kenny has popped himself out of the studio. He's going to pop himself back in shortly. But while he is getting himself reconfigured, let's see what comments we have here. And there's folks saying, get well to Zelda. Tracy M says she was born in another country and naturalized, so she can only imagine how much fun awaits her. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. That is solid advice Kenny is giving as far as getting your passport. Um, Getting your passport and your birth certificate. These are things that you absolutely must have. Let's see how Kenny's doing now. Are we better?
Good. We're good. I don't know. I'm just, technology. I blame Elon Musk. I blame him. This is the only thing that makes sense, and the fact that you're streaming this on X, it has to make sense.
Yes, that is possible. That could be a reason. Speaking of X, we recently saw Kanye West showing his ass again. Well, at least he's not showing his wife's ass. Yeah, that's another story. Did you see what happened at the what was it, the Grammys?
I saw what happened, but it was the Grammys red carpet, but he did show his wife's ass. I mean,
Yeah,
she took
yeah.
that coat off and she's, displayed it for the world. I'm nobody's gynecologist, but I shouldn't be looking at his wife's labia. I am
No.
so confused on what's going on, and the fact that there were children there on that red
Yeah.
carpet. Um, Let me just stay off by saying this, and I don't know how raw I can be on here. Kanye ain't been
Yeah.
right since his mama died, and no tea, no shade to Donda. but she's been dead for over a decade. So this man needs to go and get him some help. I think they need to load him up, put him on a truck, put him in a straight jacket because he needs to be highly medicated. There's something completely off about it. And he's spiraling at this moment. And rather than, entertain his foolishness, I'm just going to pray for this brother and hopefully he gets the help that he so desperately needs.
So you think that's what it is? You think that he's just flipped his lid? You don't
He's
think that
having a manic episode like
this is not calculated?
This isn't calculated. Well, it could be calculated. I mean, he is like Donald Trump in so many ways. They are friends. In a bad publicity and good publicity go hand in hand as long as he's being seen because nobody's buying his music. So he has to come up with something to sell those homeless chic clothes that he likes to rock in Milan.
Yeah. See, this is weird because I've seen him. I've kind of followed his career, not like intensely, but at one point he was going through this Christian thing. Do you remember that? He was like,
that's his Donda album that was written off of his mother. He said that he was going to go the Christian route, but however, remember, this is around the same time in 2018 where he said that slavery was a choice.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was he was spiraling even then.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay. So then he went through some things. I think it was right around the same time that Elon took over Twitter. He was booted off of Twitter and at some point he lost I think it was like $1 billion from Adidas or something. Yeah. So
he was saying some anti-Semitic quotes back then as well. I think he said something about excuse this is just a quote. He said that Jews own the media.
Yeah.
And they bought everything. And he was saying some off the wall type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So part of me thinks that this is like a ploy for attention. Like, why is he showing his wife's, naked body essentially, if not for attention? Why is he doing these outlandish things that the last time anyone paid him some serious attention, he was doing stuff like this? Here he's tweeting, "I'm a Nazi. Let's see if y'all give that money back. I love Hitler. Now what, bitches?" Here he says, "Call me Adolf Hitler, and your bitch still wants to fuck." It seems crazy to me, but maybe it's crazy like a fox. I don't see how he thinks a lot of his fans are going to want to flock to this. I mean,
his friends are just like his fans are just like MAGA supporters. They literally are delusional, and they will excuse any type of bad behavior because idol worship is a big thing. If you can't call him out on things like this, or you couldn't call him out by saying slavery was a choice and Black lives don't matter, I mean, he's been getting away with it for so long without any real consequence. He's going to continue this bad behavior because he thinks that just like our president, our felon in chief, they believe they're above the law and they're above reproach. The rules don't apply to them because of how much money they have and their status.
Agreed. And that's been frustrating as hell. I mean, when I asked you earlier about how you felt the day after election day, I asked you that because, this election really fucking hit me in the gut, right? Like, I allowed myself to think that the America from 2008 was back, right? So I remember in 2008, honestly, all kidding aside, when it was between Obama and Hillary, my money was on Hillary because I thought there was no way a brother named Barack Hussein Obama, there was no way he was going to make it. It was going to go the distance. That's what I thought originally. Then when he got the nomination, then I was like, all right, let's go. And I became his forever fan. But America shocked me back then. They shocked me. I was like, holy shit. All right. I didn't think we were post-racial. I was not that naive to think that we were post-racial America back then, but I was pleasantly surprised And that was until I saw people say, "We're gonna take our country back." You remember the Tea Party bullshit?
Oh yeah. White
And then
lash was real.
yeah, and then here we go with this election here. We had a convicted felon, adjudicated rapist, with 88 felony indictments. And here's the part that troubled me the most. It was like white women showed up in droves for him. It's like one thing I like about your videos, your content is like you make those videos where you have receipts. You put the receipts behind you, and it's frustrating as hell. There were so many people that that criticized President Biden, criticized Kamala Harris, and now they're asking, where are the Democrats? Like, are you shitting me, bro? Really? Talk to that.
I mean, imagine, interviewing somebody for a job and then you tell them, look, I'm going to go with the other option. And then all of a sudden you get a phone call a few days later saying, why didn't you show up for work? Well, you didn't employ me. You didn't choose me to do the work. You chose the other person, the other employee who's wreaking havoc in your establishment. So why are you calling me? Like, it's a lot of things. I mean, here's the thing. Let's just go ahead and just nip this in the butt. Democrats are
Yeah.
working. Just because you don't see it and the news doesn't cover it doesn't mean that they're not working. If you guys follow your legislators, you'll see the work that they're doing. Just today, you literally had numerous of Congress people standing outside the Department of Education trying to get the current, secretary to open the doors because they're trying to tell her, hey, look, we don't want you to follow Donald Trump and dismantle the Department of Education. There's so many children that depend on this. You have people who have student repayment loans that they have to focus on. You
Yeah.
dismantling this is going to allow discrimination for children of color. This is
Mhm.
in children with disabilities. This is going to affect us. I mean, so we want to make sure that you do not go with whatever Donald Trump is planning on doing with an executive order. So you
Mhm.
have Democrats fighting. Same thing
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier. We had federal court judges. I mean, we had federal court judges like stop Donald Trump's implementations. We were able to stop the federal pause due to one of Biden's appointed judges. Same thing when it came to revoking citizenship, another Biden appointee. Since
Mm.
people say that they haven't done anything. I mean, Biden did give us a fair chance here. And
Yeah.
for those
Yeah.
who weren't paying attention for the 4 years, I mean, I've got a laundry list of receipts that I can bring to you that's going to prove that Joe Biden will go down in history as one of the most consequential presidents of our lifetime because he at least gave us a fighting chance as we rejected him.
Yeah, in that last month, it was like a marathon. Like they were confirming so many
Judges after
judges.
judges after judges. I mean, he was just.
That was great. That was like 4D chess. People were like, "Why is so much of a focus on these judges?" I was like, "Ah, you're gonna see. You're gonna see."
You saw it in less than
Um,
2 weeks. What is it? FAFO?
that's right. That's right. I want to talk about this hyper focus on DEI, right? Which stands for diversity, equity, inclusion. You really could say it stands for Don, Eric, and Ivanka, and any number of really horrible picks. Because here's my problem with it, right? This is like what I was talking about earlier, how they like weaponize, they take one thing and they turn it into something else. They took DEI, which is a good thing, right? Which is supposed to level the playing field. It's not meant to give people of color or people with disabilities or et cetera, et cetera. It's not supposed to give all these people unfair advantages. It's just taking away the disadvantages. It's giving them access to an interview that normally they wouldn't have access to. They wouldn't even be in that consideration because of their color or their gender or whatever. It opens those doors. They still have to be qualified. When I was growing up, my mom told me, Majid, you are a black person. When you get older, you're going to have to be smarter. faster, you're going to have to be not just on time, you're going to have to be early. You're going to have to do everything better to get ahead in this world. And I know plenty of other Black families who have told their kids the same thing. So it's not like we think, the world needs to be handed to us in a silver platter. Hell no. We had to bust our ass for a lot of shit. President Obama achieved more than most people, regardless of the color. And that man was castigated for most of the time he was in office and even after he left office. And this is one of the best, the best that we ever put anywhere. He went to the White House, the president of the United States, Harvard Law Review, all that shit. And they still didn't get his proper props. Oh, it pisses me off. So, and then you have a guy like Donald Trump, who was born on third base and swore that he hit a grand slam. He is the epitome of what they are trying to say DEI is.
Exactly. I mean, you hit the needle on the head. That's literally what I was about to say. Donald Trump, if we're talking about merit alone, he doesn't even come close to what
No.
Kamala Harris had to bring to the table. 31 years of experience from all levels of government, from a local level to the federal. She was literally DA, AG, senator, vice president, and you're putting somebody in office who had no experience, but you're doing this twice when this person ran our country into the ground and lost 2.2 million jobs. And we lost nearly 500,000 people due to COVID during his administration. And we lost manufacturing jobs. All of this, he dug us into a ditch, and then we had the Biden-Harris administration pull us out of that ditch, only for him to run us through this again while telling him we're going to implement tariffs, which is going to make the price of goods go up, when he promised us cheaper eggs that are now up by 37%.
That's right.
I mean, the problem is, the reason why they're attacking DEI is because they can't compete where they can't compare. Because they already understand that when Black people do it, we do it better than anybody else. When it comes to people of color, we have so much more to prove. So when we do it, we go above and beyond. And we know that even when it comes to our resume, our accolades, we're never going to get even half the credit or an ounce of it, no matter what we have to prove. They can look down at our resume and realize, okay, I can't beat this. So what I have to do is I have to disenfranchise these people. I have to put up these roadblocks. But the funny thing about those roadblocks, it doesn't matter how many barriers you put in front of us, we bust through them every time.
Yeah.
So that's why they're attacking DI. They don't want another Barack Obama. They don't want another Kamala Harris. They don't want a Jasmine Crockett. They don't want any of these people in positions of power, because they understand that anytime these people enter positions of power, they notice that the levels of disparities between people of color and whites, they tend to almost even out. But here's the problem. The situation that they preyed upon in this election was preying on people's prejudice, looking at all the things that separate us versus the things that we have in common between us. Because the only thing that Donald Trump cares about is billionaires. He hasn't done anything to help out the quote unquote working class. Poor whites are still doing without. He's going after your Medicaid. He's going after SNAP benefits. He's going after the Department of Education, things that you can't afford. You're not going to be able to afford to take your child to a private school. So when they're dismantling these programs and cutting free school lunch, some of these kids, this is the only thing they get to eat. Sometimes there's no food in the pantry. And for the things that they're doing right now with Elon Musk in the US Treasury and him having access to our information, our social securities, and also the payment system. I mean, how many people right now are about to fill out their W-2s and fill out their taxes? Did you not know that the Treasury sends us out our taxes, our tax refund? I know you want your money to go buy that little cash card. I know you want that money so that you can buy your kids some spring school clothes. I know you want that money to reinvest, to pay off that credit card debt. I know you want that money. So don't sit here and act like you wasn't waiting at the door for your W-2s. Now Trump is playing with your pockets.
Yep. And the problem is, Here's the problem. All of this nonsense they do, we react to it. When I say we Democrats, progressives, whatever, we react to it, and then MAGA thinks it's great, even though most of the things you just mentioned, wanting to buy the clothes and pay up the credit card, and you think it just affects us? You think it just affects liberals and progressives? No, you don't have to pay for shit too. You got to pay for stuff too, and all the other things. So there's so many things that DEI affected. That was not just helping Black people. It wasn't just us. It was women, a lot of women,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
disabled people, LGBTQ. The list goes on and on and on. That there were things that I didn't know. Veterans, all these things that were helping everyone except for basically a straight white male. And there's been this victimhood chorus led by people like Tucker Carlson saying that uh, straight white males are going extinct, or they're
It's
that
that replacement theory that just hasn't existed ever. I
yeah.
mean, here's the other thing. I think a lot of people feel that when people of color get in a position of power, that we're going to do to them what they did to us.
Mm,
We're not the same. They not like
right.
us. They not like us. That's not what we're doing. We have this thing called humanity,
I
and we
see.
are the most inclusive people that you will
Mm,
ever find in
yeah.
this planet. Because one thing about us is we will allow you into our spaces, whether it
Hmm.
be into our culture, whether it be political, whether it be just in our homes, just everything. We allow people into our spaces because we are uniting people. We
Yeah.
build coalitions, we build bridges, we don't burn them down. And again, to that point of feeding on people's prejudice and going back to, this whole election situation on why a lot of the 92% and 78% or 80% or whatever you want to do it are choosing to kind of like, everybody else when it comes to POC is because the mere fact that this man did prey on your prejudice and try to make you believe that Black people weren't worthy, when all we ever do as a people is advocate for everyone, because we understand that if they go after this marginalized community, they're coming after me next.
Yeah.
We understand that we have so many things more in common than what separate us, but you focused on the things that separated us versus the things that made us more in common. And rather than coming together as a collective for a common goal and purpose, everybody kind of went for themselves and found safety in supremacy. We
Mhm.
learned this early on, and you got a glimpse of this when they went after affirmative action and that was overturned. And those
I'm.
Asians tried to go after college admissions. Well, we
Mhm.
saw that even when it was overturned, Asians were being less, appointed into these colleges because they were able to discriminate now. They thought that they thought a Black person had took their spot. No, a Black person did not take your spot.
Right.
Now you can't even go to the college that you want to apply to.
Yeah.
No, we got there on our merit.
Hmm.
And if they didn't learn from the college admissions, why did they not take that lesson into the election? Like right now, I feel there's a great divide that's happening right now within the Democratic Party because yes, we are a diaspora. We have so many different, demographics in our party.
Yeah.
So that means we got a lot of people to appeal to.
Big
But
tent.
however, there's a lot of things that's happening right now to where there's this distrust happening between marginalized communities. And right now, we need to be focusing on how we can rebuild that trust and what we need to do going forward in order to at least slow down this administration or at
Mhm.
least be able to stop him in 2026 if we can take back the House and Senate.
I'm glad you said that, because I like a lot of what you had to say about specifically about the things that bring us uh that the things that we all have in common, across the divide. Um but I feel that we're kind of under assault from, like, they're trying to, I don't know, scapegoat us, or like, for instance, Black History Month uh, events and Women's History Month events and Latino History Month events and Pride Month, all that shit was canceled. Why? What? How is that making things uh, cheaper? You know, so we can't back away from advocating for marginalized communities because that is part of our DNA as Democrats, as progressives, or whatever. That is who we are essentially. So that's our base. But I feel like at in order for us to get to that point where we are getting past the distractions that the ruling class and the billionaires and millionaires they throw these race distractions and they get us fighting amongst ourselves so we don't see that they are picking our pockets, so we don't see that they are trying to do this tax plan for the billionaires that's going to make them richer. That they're already more rich, that they already have more money than they'll be able to do anything with in 5 lifetimes, 10 lifetimes, and they still want more. They still
They
want
sure
more.
do.
So they're going to continue to distract us with this bullshit. How do we move past that uh, and get everybody on the same page? How do we move past the distractions and get to the point where we can galvanize everybody and fight against the real enemy?
I was trying to pull up that quote from LBJ. I cannot remember it particularly, but he said that he could. It was a quote about the rich can convince the poorest man that the black man is lesser than them, so that way the richest man can pick their pockets.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what's been going on for since the dawn of time, trying to make sense. I think a lot of people are suffering with, it's not an inferiority complex, but a superiority complex where they have to feel superior than another person. See, I can deal with being poor so long as this group is suffering more. That's literally what's going on, and that's how they were able to play with this election.
Yeah.
Yes, class is a big issue, and right now the billionaires are do have us in a chokehold. Look at Elon Musk; he's popping pussy in the treasury. So what we need to what we need to do is we do need to somehow come together. But unfortunately, none of that can happen in this
Yeah.
moment until we actually deal with the issue on race. I know a lot of people will try to steer away from that, but the problem is race played a big part of this election.
Mhm.
They didn't care
Yeah.
about the price of eggs. They cared about race. They didn't want that black
Yeah.
woman in office. They didn't want
Yeah.
to see DEI. They didn't want this. They didn't want the problem is we have to deal and have these really hard conversations within the next 2 years to deal with this issue when it comes to race. Why do these people feel this way? Why do they have an issue with African Americans? Why do they have an issue with Latino Americans? Why do they have an issue with women? What is the real issue here? What's the problem with immigration? Like, we have to have this conversation. If we're not able to get past this issue on race, we're not going to be able to move forward because they're going to be able to play that race thing, race bait us, and get people to vote how they want to vote based off of preying again on people's prejudice. We have to
Yeah.
be able to break through this because it seems like a lot of people just had a light bulb go off overnight, because now I'm starting to see abandoned MAGA movement, which I honestly don't believe, because this man said the mass deportation at the RNC. This man
Uh-huh.
said that he was not going to change the cost of egg prices. This man
Mhm.
said that he was going to dismantle the Department of Education. This man said that he was going to go after Medicaid. This man said he was going to go after SNAP benefits.
Mhm.
So I'm confused on how you're saying that you did not know when it was everywhere. Even
Yeah.
Project 2025 was the most Googled thing in July. So you had plenty of time
Yeah.
to read through it. You had plenty of time. Every time Vice President Kamala Harris showed up at any rally, she would pivot not only to her policies, but she would highlight what Project 2025 would look like and how it would affect the people.
Yeah.
But to our detriment, seeing DEI being rolled back the way that it is, you're going to see a lot of people, disengage from their jobs. See, a lot of people think that DEI is only something to just get people, in positions at their jobs and this, that, and the other. But the thing about DEI is when a person feels valued at their job, they're less likely to have a high turnover rate. Then you also see a 50% productivity increase when you actually have programs like DEI in workplaces. So with these private sector companies like Walmart and Target, now they're issuing a quote unquote apology. They're going to start seeing a high turnover rate. They're going to start seeing people stop showing up from these protests and people not wanting to buy because they don't feel valued. Why would I spend my money at a place that
Right.
doesn't value my life or see my existence or acknowledge me?
Yeah.
So there's that.
Well said. Um, I put that picture of the fuselage up from that recent crash. It seems like planes are now falling out of the sky as soon as Donald Trump stepped into office. I was I was flabbergasted during his press conference after that plane crash because for the first 2 minutes of that, he was actually regular. I don't know if you watched it, but the first 2 minutes of that thing, he didn't say anything incendiary or insulting about anybody. He was talking about, the families and this sad moment. And I was like, oh shit, who is that? And then the real Donald Trump showed his ass and showed who he is. And he started talking about DEI and he started dissing President Biden, President Obama. What the fuck are you talking about them for? They had nothing to do with this, you know? And MAGA and people on the right are constantly saying to us, why do you always have to make it about race? Why do you keep bringing up race? And it's like, we're not bringing up race. There's not one time in my life I ever thought the words, I wonder if the air traffic controller for this flight I'm on is black. I wonder if my pilot is black. I never gave a shit. It never even dawned on me that that's something I need to worry about. And you know what? It's not. But all of a sudden, Donald Trump insinuated in that press conference that now we have to worry about it. And reporters asked him, are you saying that, we're not safe flying anymore? Oh, no, it's safe to fly. Then what the fuck are you saying, motherfucker? God damn. I'm so mad about that shit. I
I mean,
really,
for the dawn of time, it's always been blame the black man.
yeah.
Blame the
And there
black
was
man.
no,
It's so easy.
there was no black man at fault,
We
ironically.
know.
You know,
But who was at fault was the white man. Let's talk about it. Donald Trump was the one who fired the head of the TSA, and then he also gutted the Aviation Safety Committee. And then when he implemented the federal pause, it also blocked the recruitment process of air flight traffic controllers. So who's to blame by this? And the sad thing about it is there had been reports that, particularly where I'm at, because I'm in the DMV, they call it Ronald Reagan Child. We call it DACA. The airport had already been they already been reporting a shortage when it comes to air flight traffic controllers under Trump, and nobody cared. It seemed like this wasn't a big deal to him. But previously, September, when it was under the Biden-Harris administration, they met their quota when it came to air flight traffic controllers. So what's the problem? He's the president. Just like people wanted to blame Biden for, the derailment that happened up north. Why
yeah,
can't we sit here and blame Trump? Trump is the president. Hold him accountable.
indeed. Indeed. And I think if we're going to have any chance of flipping the House and the Senate, I think that's key to our plans for the next 2 years for 2026. I want to ask you, what are your plans for making a difference in 2025 and beyond? And how this is a two-part question. So you first, what are your specific plans for this year and beyond? And what do how do we as a party, how do we get back to winning?
So what I want to see more of, and they're kind of already starting to kind of, get in gear with things. I want to see congressional members, particularly Democrats, start utilizing their platform more. You cannot, rely on traditional media to get your message out there because they're going to skew it. They're going to look for a gotcha questions. They're not going to put it where it's easily accessible to the people. So rather than focusing on them, how about you bring the message to the people who put you in office by utilizing your platform? And I see a lot of that happening right now with AOC. I see a lot of it happening with Jasmine Crockett, Maxwell Frost. I'm seeing Chantel Brown do her thing. I literally saw Maxwell Frost go live with Lauren Underwood, who really doesn't get the credit that she deserves for the legislation she implements. But start utilizing your platform and speak to the people straight up. Let them know what's going on and setting up the right expectations so people know exactly what you're doing so they don't feel alone. The job right now is they want us to feel alone. They want us to feel like Democrats are not, they don't have our backs. They just left us out here in the cold by ourselves to just spin for it. But the
Right.
truth of the matter is you're not alone. They want us to feel isolated and exhausted. But we
Yeah.
have to keep holding each other up because if nobody else does, what are we going to do? And the other thing that I want to see with Democrats is consistent messaging. I want to see that everybody's going to be on the same time. Yes, we have different ways of implementing our policy agendas. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we all believe that there should be affordable health care, regardless if you believe in lowering the cost or if you believe in a Medicare for all option. We need to stop focusing on the most stupidest arguments when we all agree that the cost should be lower.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
shouldn't be wasting our time arguing about stupid, petty implementations of things when we agree on so many issues.
Hmm.
We need to stop being on this moral high ground saying that, I have the moral clarity and I'm morally superior. Let go of the superiority complex. Let it go and stop looking for perfection. We're human beings.
Right.
We're going to mess up, but allow each other enough grace to fall on your face and pick you back up and put you in the right direction. That's what we need to be focusing on right now in the Democratic Party. We need to be focusing on trying to build safety, and a community that we can trust, that people won't feel like I'm going to be backstabbed by this community that I'm in.
Hmm.
So those are the things that I need Democrats to start focusing on. They need to start learning how to have a rapid response team when misinformation and disinformation arrive. They need to be on it immediately because Republicans, they have the same playbook. They're very, we already know what they're going to do before they do it.
I, you know,
So
I don't like what they do, but I will say that they are a well-oiled machine. You have to give them props for that. I mean, they do that very well. They spin their lies efficiently.
they do, but
Terrible.
they also utilize their money. They need to start. Look, I've been called a paid shill all my life. Apparently, I've been getting paid from the DNC. They making it rain on me, even though I live in low income housing. Child, where the money at? Okay, fund me my coin. But they need to start paying content creators. They need to start having them in the forefront, educating the people on policies and what Democrats are trying to do in order to obstruct this administration. You need to start partnering up with us. Okay, utilize us because the mainstream media isn't going to do it. Going on
You know,
these particular shows and these late night talk shows, that's not going to do it. Meet people where they are. Reach out to these TikTokers, reach out to these influencers, these podcasters, these YouTubers.
yeah. I find it amusing that so many clowns on the right, they like to they like to criticize us for making a penny here and there when you got guys like Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens and Benny Johnson making millions. That guy Benny Johnson was making millions from the Russians. He was getting paid directly by the Russians, and they're not saying a peep about those guys. Call us grifters? We're just making just barely enough to pay a bill.
Come on,
Come
talk
on now.
about it. And for those, and here's some tea, because weren't you at the DNC?
I was, yeah,
We had to pay our own way to get there.
hell yeah, yeah, everything,
But they were
everything.
pressed and trying to get into that creator lounge. I'm like, oh my God. We had to
That
pay
was
our
fun.
own way to get in. We had to get our
Yeah,
own flight, get our own rooms, our own travel. This
yeah,
was like, you guys don't understand. Media hates us because they understand that they're a dying breed and they have to appeal to conservatives because traditional media is damn near dead. So, you know, they got traditional media on life support and they're over here hating that our young and youthful way of bringing, the message to the people.
That's right. That's right. I feel like what you said about the media being a dying breed. I think that's right on the money. Like they failed us tremendously, tremendously in ways that I don't think people talk about enough. They focused their ire and their energy on Joe Biden's age, like that was the only important thing about him. Like for an old guy, he sure did get a shit ton of stuff done, right? So they broke him down to the point where that was all people cared about was his age. They didn't care about any of his accomplishments. And then when push came to shove, everybody, when I say everybody, I mean, after the debate, that debate he had against Trump, after that, everybody was shook because they're like, shit, it's July. It's July. And now, well, he's old. What are we going to do? Does he have enough gas to make it across the finish line? And then I don't know how it happened. I don't know if it was behind the scenes, some backroom dealings or whatever. We ended up with Kamala Harris leading the way. And then they failed us with Kamala Harris. They failed us with her. Every day Donald Trump was either blowing a microphone or talking about Arnold Palmer's dick, or there was one idiotic thing after another, eating the cats and dogs, and he somehow managed to just escape unscathed by all of that shit, all of that controversy, all of the indictments, the conviction, made it across the finish line in November because our media was focused on the wrong thing.
I agree. And here's the thing that I try to tell people all the time: perception is reality. I wouldn't have a platform if I wasn't occupying a space that has been vacant for a long time. Like Nikki said, bitch, if you ain't shitting, then get off the pot. So what I've done is hold this space and utilize my platform talking about what Democrats were doing, particularly when it comes to the Biden Harris administration, because I knew they wouldn't cover it. And because they had put that message out there that Sleepy Joe's doing nothing, even though I know damn well people got their stimulus checks from Joe. I know damn well people were collecting that monthly tax credit. I know people got their student loan debt forgiveness. I know that people see that projects that have been implemented when it came to the infrastructure bill. I know, so I can go on and on and on. I know people know that they're capped on insulin. I know they know the price of their insulin drop. I can keep going about accomplishments and things that Joe is doing but here's the situation. Even though you know this exists, even though you know this is happening, a lot of people act like it didn't exist because perception is reality. If somebody keeps telling you things are bad, 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 and they're speaking in that repetition, you're gonna think, well, goddamn, things
Yeah.
must be really bad.
Right.
And I think a lot of people were still dealing with PTSD from 2020 on how bad things really was in COVID, because that's how Republicans were able to hammer home, like, are you better than you were 4 years ago? Hell yeah, I'm outside. I'm not walking around here with a mask. 71% of Americans are all vaccinated. Thank you, Joe Biden. Got my Moderna and I got my booster. So
Yeah.
I don't understand what was going on, but I think a lot of people tuned out what happened in 2020 and didn't really get a chance to process the isolation and process cities being on fire, process
Mhm.
the millions of people out protesting. I don't think people were able to truly process what really happened during
It's
that
crazy.
last few months of
Yeah.
Trump's presidency. I don't think people really got a grip on what happened. So some people felt that they needed to spin the block and go visit that one ex person who was abusing them and beating them and this, that, and the other, and leave a really good man for an abuser
Right.
and a felon and somebody liable for sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
So for some odd reason, people don't know that you have a good thing until it's gone. And unfortunately, people just found out that they fucked around.
Kenny, I'm so glad that you do what you do, because as you said, you're holding that space because there was a need that existed, and you were filling that need. I love how you bring humor and intellect and ferocity to the way you explain first of all, the way you explain your messaging, the way you deliver it, uh, I call it edutainment. Right, you're educating people and you're entertaining, incredibly entertaining at the same time. So I'm so happy you were able to join me here. I wanted to make sure people get all of your socials and let us know if there's one project that you're working on in particular that you want everyone to support you in.
Well, you guys can follow me on Too Raw Too Real on all platforms. It's literally the number two and then Raw and TOO Real on all platforms. You can find me on Blue Sky, X, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. You can find me on all those platforms. The only thing that I'm working on right now is I am partnering up with Chorus, who focuses on content creation. And what they're trying to do is platform content creators to give traditional media a run for their motherfucking money because they're not doing their jobs. So we're just
Hmm.
trying to make it easy for the people to have access to the information. We do it in a way that's just like kitchen table talk, just talking like I normally do,
Yeah.
non-scripted, just giving it people where they get it. So that's what I'm doing. So you can also go follow Chorus Media. There you can find them on Twitter. You can also find them on Instagram. You can go to chorusmedia.com and you can see all the content creators that are also partnered up there as well. What I'm going to be focusing on is I'm trying to still bring, as what you said, edutainment,
Yeah. I, I
edutainment.
I borrowed that from KRS-One. So
I love her. So I'm
that,
trying to keep it light, even though it's very heavy. I'm trying to give hope in this darkness. As VP said, only in the darkness can you see the stars. And I'm trying to be one of those stars that brighten up the sky to kind of take us home and bring us to freedom, if you will, like the Northern Star. Um,
mm,
there's a lot of stars out there, so I definitely recommend you guys go follow them. Again, Chorus Media, trying to do what else I can do to interview and work with congressional members. I'm trying to reach out to Chantel Brown's team. I've interviewed Jasmine Crockett on my page as well, so you can definitely check out that interview. I'm just trying to reach out to them to try to make it easily accessible for people to ask the right questions to our leaders and see what they're doing, not only holding them accountable, but also holding ourselves accountable because the power is truly with the people and Trump only has the power on what we give him. So don't feel hopeless, you guys. And
you got fans
remember,
here saying you gather the idiots daily. Love it.
okay, I'll read them down to the bone.
Kenny, thank you again so much. I'm going to sign off here with my viewers. Just hang tight till I wrap this up, and I'll see you on the other side.
All right, bye, you guys.
Thanks again, Kenny. And thank you guys as well for joining me for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Folks, look for me again here next week, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.